Hi Flosstube! I am stitching on the go with Luella, and this is my first video, one of many, I hope. And I just want to share with the community what I stitch and a little bit about me. I've been stitching for probably more years than I can count, because I actually cannot go back and figure out when I actually started. My mom started us all doing, learning different things when I was 7 years old, and I'm 46 right now. So it could be that many years, but maybe not. Maybe I started in elementary school or high school. I cannot remember, but I do know doing some pretty big pieces in my 20s. And then life happened, you know. I had 2 kids and a couple marriages, and then about 7 years ago I finally got into it when some of my coworkers were all stitching these huge patterns, and it got me intrigued again. And so I brought my stuff out that I have lugged around with me from many house to house over the years, and it really got me back in there. And then about 2 years ago I found Heaven and Earth Designs, and I have never seen such huge designs before, but they were gorgeous, and I got hooked. And so I've been doing those for about 2 years, along with some out of the Cross Stitch Gold and the World of Cross Stitching. Those magazines really intrigued me. I've done most out of the gold one though, because I liked the full coverage. I liked the detail in them. I love the colors that they had. And so I've been probably cross stitching 4 or 5 hours a day since. So I just happenstanced over Flosstube. It hasn't been very long, probably maybe a few months, that I have been watching and trying to find in seeing who I like, and finding people that have my styles and that kind of stuff, people that I click with. The one that I do click with and impressed me because of her finishing styles was Chelsea and Priscilla. And because I have been in many homes, I think I averaged about a move a year. So each time you would downsize and, you know, get rid of what you don't want or don't need. And I had also wanted to go to tiny house living. And so I had already in the back of my mind been wondering what I could do where I could display my work, but maybe switch it out in the frames every so often, so that I didn't have that big bulk of carrying all those frames. And so when I saw her finishing ideas and, you know, the magnets and washers, that kind of a thing, it just was amazing that somebody else, you know, had that idea also, although she does it on much smaller scale. But then I also had heard about, you know, the Maynia, and wanted to take part of that. I had actually finished on April 27th my big masterpiece, and that masterpiece is right here. And this is Portofino Reflections. The artist is Mickey Sincera. And I love her, the colors that she uses. She's kind of almost like two genres. One is the, her foreign one, which is the Italy, Greece, the water, that kind of art. And then she has the Southwest. And I love both of them and hope to do, you know, more of hers. So, this one took me a little over a year, but I had put it aside and rotated in some others in there. So I think about 4 months of that, 13 months was working on something else. And so I had just finished it, and I was so happy to come across, you know, the Maynia where I could do smaller projects. And I decided to do it my way. I am always trying to be unique. So I decided to put in my whips that I had been working on and rotate them several days out of the month. And I really only had planned on maybe 2 starts. I ended up with more because I came across a few of them that, a pattern at St. Vinny's that I decided I really liked. And I'll tell you about that in a little bit. And then, oh, my husband's birthday. So I decided to go on Etsy and I found a pattern for him. So, I found a few extras, but that's all right. So, I'm not exactly sure how many I had finished, but why don't we go through and, I'll show you what I did get finished, this month. And then I'll go and show you the whips that I worked on a few days here and there during the month of May. So it's kind of my overall look at Maynia. So the first finish was this quilt ornament. And when I had it started, it only had really the lavender on there. And when I got to the pink was really light, what it really was supposed to be. And I am a bright colored person. I love bright colors. So I decided to trade that out for that pink. The bright pink. And then when it came to the aqua, then I decided that was too light. So, yeah, all of the colors got changed except for the lavender, and it went to the bright colors. And I am very happy with it. I did take a chance though. I was not sure about that orangey melon color, but I like it. So, that pattern actually came out of the Better Homes and Gardens Cross Stitch and Country Crafts. And there was, I don't know, 8 or 10 different quilt patterns there for ornaments. This is another one. I didn't finish it in Maynia, but it was one that I had started, or I had done with this series. And as you can see, the colors are a lot paler because this is the ones that I had not changed any colors. I actually had always just gone with what was called for in pretty much everything. So Flosstube has opened up my world. Thank you. Another start that I did was, well, I finished this one. This one had been started and I just had to backstitch it. These are the Christmas mugs. Janlin Needle Crafts had these in kits. So this was the one I finished first with just the backstitch. Then I went on to the gingerbread man. And I tell you, if it hadn't been For the snowman next, I would have just ditched the whole project. I had already had 3 done, but I mean, I love snowmen. They are my favorites, but that gingerbread man, a lot of fractional, quarter stitches, and the 8/0 was, stiffer than I like it. And so I'm glad I didn't give it up, but I'm not sure I'm going to get kits again. So just going to show you the other 3 in the set, because it did come as 6 in the set. These were all done previously over the last year or so. And they're all cute. Of course, I'm going to have a finishing day. I'm just going to have to get all my supplies ready and finish them all, because it's not a strong suit. I like the cross stitching. I just have never done anything, extraordinary with the finishing. And now I hope to do that. So my third start was also by Janlin Needlecrafts. This is not focusing. The teapot ornaments, and this is the only one I got done with the snowman. And I showed my friend at work, and she's already offered to buy it, and she wants me to make another one, but I think I'll just use like reds. She didn't want it exactly the same, so she wants 2 of them of that. So that's the only one. I'll finish up the rest of them. There's like 5 more with different designs, plus I'll do the extra teapot for my friend. But it was fun. It was a quick stitch, maybe a day on a lot of the ornaments. Depending on how much time I had. I drive school bus, so the month of May is what as we call spring busing. All the trips go out, and as one of my bosses, not the one I have now, but one of them, the first one I had, he used to come at the spring safety meeting, and he's like, oh, now we've got all the busing charters out there. Very well, I'm going to be sitting there with the shotgun saying, you're not coming off the bus until the end of the day. And so we sometimes go in, we do our morning routes, and we do charters. We might do 2-3 charters a day on top of our 2 routes. And so charters, though, is a little different. We take them there, and then we might have hours sitting. So like the middle of May, I took a group down to Milwaukee to the Brewers game, and I sat all day stitching. So I've got it pretty well organized so that I can set up my tablet. I do almost all of my work off my tablet now. And then I just have my the cross stitch, the whole setup, floss, scissors, and it all kind of has its own place, and it all sets up there, plus the snacks and everything, and get up every once in a while, to walk around. But I get a lot of stitching done while I am waiting for groups to come off out of wherever they went to. And it's kind of fun. I've been doing it for about 11 years, and I've gotten a lot done in those 11 years. So, in fact, the one that I did do while I was in Milwaukee was this new start. They are seasonal birdhouses. There's 4 sets of them. This one's the summer one, and I have to find some bee charms to put on there, and then that's the only thing that needs to do for finishing this one up. And then I have spring, and they were supposed to be bluebirds, but they didn't have the orange on them, so I added that to make them look more authentic. And so this one I am going to have this set I'm going to do with the magnets and washers. And I've probably got a little chalkboard easel that I think I'm going to put those on. And there's two more. There's Autumn and I don't know if I can get this here. So the Autumn one there has pears on it, and I don't like pears, so I'm going to find probably a pumpkin or an apple to replace it. And I've been working on that one. It's just deciding what I want to do with it. And then, of course, the winter one. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that one exactly like it, but we'll see. But I think I have a little bit of time left before those seasons roll around. And, oh, I didn't show you the front of the book. This was the one that I found at St. Vinny's, and it's Helen Phillips cross-stitch garden notebook. And I love gardening and flowers, and so I just love this book. So I'm going to be doing several samplers out of there over the course of time. We'll see when that happens. Another finish that I did, this was my husband's birthday's in May, and about a week before his birthday, I realized that maybe I should do him a cross-stitch pattern. So I went on Etsy, and let me just see, I have it written down here. It's called Bear Winter, and by Cross Stitch with Art. And she has several of these silhouettes that have, this one had like a winter or a night sky look to it. And then there's one that has, I think it's called Woodland, with the green pine forests and that, with a green hue up above. And so I thought about actually just changing out the colors and to make it the greens, just choosing some greens to go with it, using the same exact pattern. I got a couple other patterns with this one that I purchased because she had a deal where you buy two and you get a free one. So I have, like, it's a mama bear and two babies with a rainbow sky, and then there's like you're sitting in the middle of a forest and you're looking up at the night sky. That one, I mean, that's really cool. So eventually I will stitch those and put them with this one. I think I'll just make a collage in with the bears and that style, because they were all kind of like the same, similar, very style. The next finish that I did was, it's called House Proud, and it's a Stitcher Lives Here. This isn't my first it's not linen, it's even weave, it's Lagana. But this is the first time doing it on 28 count, and I absolutely loved it. It did change out some of the colors. I thought they were a little pale, or actually the border I did not have, and then the house color, I decided I didn't want pale blue and I wanted a little bit brighter. So I did do a little bit more frogging than I normally do, but I loved working on it, and I'm going to continue working on Lagana. I actually had ordered some Monaco, but it got lost in the mail. And so I am not sure. I think that next time I order it, I'm going to order it from Fat Quarter Shop, because I've heard she's got some really good service, and that. So I don't even know what company it was. It was off of Amazon, and they're really good about, you know, reimbursing you if something's lost. But I think I had ordered it like the beginning of April, and we're at the end of March. And so I finally emailed them and said, hey, it's been too long. So they're going to reimburse me. So, but in the meantime, I had already gotten a yard of Lagana. So I probably will wait until then. But I had only ever worked on Ada. I had done some on 18. I don't like it. Now that I'm, you know, a little older and my, I've had to start wearing glasses. It's, it's no fun. And if it's not fun for me, then, I just don't do it. I'll just toss it. So I have some starts back in the back, you know, that I have started, and then I've actually restarted on, 14 count, which actually this one here, I started on 18 count. I had gotten it gridded and, started it, and I didn't like it. It was just too tiny. And I said, no, we'll just have to deal with, the bigger project. I mean, this one's 3 foot by 2 foot. So, it was a pretty good size. Anyway, I do have a couple that are on 16 count, but otherwise, I'd only ever worked on one other project that was, linen or even weave, when I was much younger, and I'll tell you about that later on. So those are all of my finishes that I did in the month of May. And so now I want to show you some of the, works in progress that I am, you know, working on. I have an ornament. It has a cardinal on it. And this one I ran into troubles. When I first started doing the Maynia, I did that decision wheel. I had gotten an app like for my phone, and I just found that like whatever it landed on, I actually didn't feel like doing. So I actually ditched that after like 3 days. So this was one of them that I had landed on, was this cardinal. That's what I have gotten done right now. But I had to frog it in the beginning. This is what it's, the kit that it's going to be when it's finished. And it came with the hanger and everything, and there's bells and everything. So the only complaint I had was that the Ada was so stiff that it was hurting my fingers to work on. So it took a chance. I did have some of the browns done and everything, but I just soaked it in some warm water, Little Dawn, and for like an hour or so, rinsed it out, hung it up to dry. And as you can see, it's definitely much softer than what it was previously. So that was lesson learned. Anything I get out of a kit, I need to wash first, because there's so much starch in there that I can't work with it. I am an in-hand stitcher, so I'll show you how I do that with some of my bigger projects, because yes, I did do this one in hand. I didn't use, I've tried scrolls, I've tried hoops, I've tried Q-snaps. I don't like any of them. I have fibromyalgia, and my hands will hurt from trying to hold them in up, and my back is really bad, so I can't sit up leaning over something. So I need to be pretty comfortable and sitting in my chair, and I like to have it so I'm holding it up close to me. So that is the whole saga of 20 years of buying and trying something out and it not working. So I've gone to my big project bags. I got these on Amazon, 10 of them for, 8 or 10 of them for $10. And then I had gotten the small ones. And these are mesh, breathable ones. Also the same thing. There's 2 different sizes. They're great for the smaller ones. This one is like a plastic, but like a sturdy. So I forgot to get the picture of what this one is going to be, but because most of my stuff is done on, I have gone to taking pictures on my phone and then putting it into Google Keep. So I have everything there together, and then I can zoom in and get a better look at the picture, especially for, this one is called Diligent Protector. This came from a leisure magazine, and all the rage of when the colored graphs came in, and unfortunately the bad part about that that I see is that there was so many symbols and so many colors that were so close together that I was having a hard time determining which color it really was. They needed to like expand their symbols so that even if the color was different or very similar, the symbol would be different. And so I'd almost ditched this one because I just couldn't focus on the symbols and the graph. And now that I have taken the picture of it and put it into the Google Keep, and then I can just zoom it out, I am enjoying this one. So again, on 14 count, Ada, this picture I had started actually because it actually hung up in my grandma's living room. She had the artwork of it, and you know, it's the angel with the two children. There was two different versions, or three different versions. One is they're on a cliff, the children are on a cliff, and then the other one is they're on a bridge. And so I'm doing the one on the bridge, and it's been so many years, I'm not exactly sure which one that my grandma had, but I actually have the pattern for both, so I might do them both up, put them together as a set. So the next one I have, it's called Victorian Market. This one is out of cross stitch gold, I believe. And this one is actually done on 16 count. I've been working on it for, well, I think I started last summer, I think. And it'll have a lot of back stitching on it. I don't mind it because it brings the scene to life. And I think the only reason I got on 16 count is that I have one that I'm going to match this with that I've already done. And that one has a horse and a church and then the bridge over the water with some pine forest. It's almost like a stagecoach, similar to that, but it's in the Victorian era. And it was done on 16 count, and I had it already sitting there. So there's one other one that I might do that goes with that, or I think, you know, it's kind of in the Victorian. And that is the little, I think it's a boy and a girl looking in the toy store window. I'm not positive I'll do it or not, but it has my eye. So we'll see. A new start that I did, that my daughter got me for Christmas, was this Dimensions Petite Lighthouse. I like anything nautical and beachy, and so I started it. It's on 18 count because that's what the kit came from, and I didn't I decided to go, and I had already 18 count from before that had the grid lines on it, And I started it, and this is how much I've gotten done for May. This was like a day's worth of work. But I'm not certain I'm happy with it. I might just, because I noticed that the dimensions, I can actually match up the floss to the DMC pretty easily. And so I might just switch this one out to an 18 count or a 14 count and start over. It'll be a lot easier for me to do. The next one that I worked on for a couple days. So if I liked it, I worked on it a couple days. If I didn't, then I got one day. And actually, I think I only did one day on this one. But this came out of, I believe, Cross Stitch Gold. Yes, May 2017 Cross Stitch Gold. And the basket of strawberries with bluebirds. I love bluebirds. So I had started this last summer, I think. And I had only gotten like maybe a strawberry done. So, oh, and the butterfly. Yeah. There. That looks better. So I got more of the strawberries and more of the leaves and the basket working on it. And it started to be quite fun. I'm not a fan of the quarter stitches on it, but this is softer fabric and it was already gridded. So a lot easier to work with. This one, I think, was a birthday present from my husband. Now, my husband can never figure out. He knows cross stitch and everything, but he never figures out. So I always tell him he gets me a great present. And this is the one that he got me this year. The beach huts or houses. And I haven't really gotten very far on it, but this one again, I changed out the fabric, still 14 count, but I changed it to the gridded and because it's softer, and then I have the grids to work with. So I have a good chunk of the one house done. So I have 3. So that one, and this one is the only one for some reason that I haven't been able to take a good enough picture with to get it on my program. So I'm still working off of the printed one, and that's the downside of that one, but I love it. I love the scenery and everything. Now, the next one is it is Heaven and Earth Designs. And it's called The History of Chocolate. It's the, what they call Story Keep. So some people were talking about that it's, you know, kind of think of it as a bookmark. But this would be one big book that I'd be putting into. So this is the top part. And I had the first page done coming into the month of May. But I only had a little bit of this, I think, so I managed to get this and down here. So for not working on it very long, I got quite a bit done with it. This one, I belong to a, what's called Stitch Olympics. And when I finished this one, the history of chocolate took its place. And so we have sprint days a couple times a month, and we get a point every hour that we stitch on that. So I just basically stitched on those 2 days for the month of May. And I didn't stitches very much. I, like with this one, I think my top month, and I never kept track of how many hours I had stitched in a month. The top month, I think, was 179 hours. And I usually got 4 pages done a month on that one. So I was going pretty strong on that, and I needed a break, and that was quite nice that the challenge, the Stitch Olympics got us, it pushed me to go further and everything, but I just needed something totally different. And so I probably will be bringing it out a little bit more this month, and getting a little farther, a few more hours. I definitely want to at least get a page or 2 done. And there's only 4 pages, or maybe 4 and a partial on that one. I started this one last summer for my son's wedding, and his wedding was last October. So the only saving grace on that is that, he's a trucker, and they, to save money, they gave up their apartment. So they don't have any place to put it. Everything's in storage. So they're not chomping at the bit to get it. They know that it's coming eventually, someday. Maybe by this Christmas, I'll get it done for him. But my son loves chocolate, and his wife likes dragons. And I think that's probably why because I should be able to get that done in a month. But dragons really aren't my thing. So I've just kind of been dragging my feet on that one. But I really want to get that one done. And now it's in the Stitch Olympics, so that's the one that I am definitely working on. I have a few more that are going to be put into the rotation later on. But then Chelsea and Priscilla said that they're going to do Jolly July, which is an ornament every day. And so I've already been going through my magazines, and I'm pretty sure I have at least 31 ornaments. So people might be getting ornaments for Christmas this year, being that I had the time and the materials to do them. And that. One of the things I wanted to show you is that, besides the project bags that I have for all of them, I store my floss a little bit differently for my projects. The small ones, not so much. But the larger ones, I print out the symbols and the numbers and everything. And I get these bead boxes. There's 32 in a container. And for Heaven and Earth Designs, I don't do the max colors. So the most I've had is 90 some or 80 some, So 3 boxes will do one project. And if you look, see if it'll zoom in on that. The color number, the symbol, and the shade of green that comes on the in the pattern. I cut them out, and I just tape them to the outside of the box. So I do bobbinate, but I put the one bobbin in there, and then I was cutting off the length that I needed. And then when I got done with working that color on the project, then I would just stick it in there. I would not wrap it around the bobbin. And I have enough needles. I think I got 300-400 needles because I don't like to unthread them and then rethread them. So I just stick them already. If I cut it off, then I stick it in there with the needle and everything. That's my whole purpose of having each individual container that has thread in them. So I have a wooden crate and they all sit in there, and then I just have now put the project bags in between. I have material to make some fancy ones, but I'm waiting for summer so that I have more time and I don't have to run off to do a route and all of that. Some of the things that I want to do is that also, kind of my whole idea of saying stitching on the go is that not only do I stitch when I go everywhere, I have something always with me. I do travel to different locations. Like for instance, this coming weekend, I'm going camping with my family up north. And my mom has a wool farm and a quilt shop. So I'm going to go over there, and I have collected all of my fabric, both Ada and I'd gotten the yard of Lugana, and I'm going to dye it. And she normally dyes her wool with natural plants. Most of them are grown on her farm. So like a lot of flowers that are around there, they're actually, she harvests them and she saves them and she dyes them. So she's got a really pretty green, and there's a green, a gray, and a blue that I want to try doing. And so I'm hoping to video the process that we do and whether it is a fail or succeed. And then I might show you some more of my other projects. I've got a whole bunch of them in the back corner that I've saved, but I thought I'd just bring them out one by one. So the one thing I did want to show that I forgot about this finish. I didn't forget it, but I kind of wanted to save it for last. And that is because I started stitching this. I had to look actually at the copyright of the pattern to find out really when I started stitching it. This pattern is the only other one I have done on linen, and I started it 23 years ago. I had no idea about count and everything, so I just probably went in and picked up whatever count they had. I have not yet gone to what you would consider a local needle shop, because we don't have any around here. The closest one is about 50 minutes away, and I've always used out of magazines and Joann's, well, at this point in time. So I'm not sure exactly where I got the pattern, but the two stores that I remember going to as a child, the first one that I ever remember going to was a Woolworth's and getting craft supplies from there. And then we had a big, huge Ben Franklin's. And so I remember getting supplies there. And so probably one of those places is where I got the pattern. And I started stitching it. And I did really well until I hit that quilt. This quilt here has given me fits. I think I frogged it 4 or 5 times. And finally, I just decided that because of the counting of the linen, that, you know, it's a quilt. These patterns, the colors, I don't know how I can hold it up. And so these patterns right here, where you count out and try to do that, I just decided that they were just going to land wherever they landed. and then I'd work the white around them. And then I did that. That's how they got there. So it is definitely not perfect according to the pattern. But I am happy with it. I'm happy that it is done. I need to clean it and finish it. But I pushed and pushed and pushed. So I think I was looking at, I know it was May 31st when I finished it. And we were looking at like 10, 11 o'clock at night when I finally finished it. So I was very pleased. That's the longest one. Most of my whips are only a year or so old, maybe 2, you know. I try to finish up, and if I don't, my favorite flower is tulips, and that's probably why it is stuck around. Otherwise, I probably would have tossed it, given out, you know, to St. Vinny's or something, you know, long time ago. But because I like the tulips, I love the style, I didn't. And so I'm really grateful I didn't. I have that. But that one is definitely, I'm proud of it. And so I'm hoping that the stains come out, although they're far enough away from the actual picture that I can work with it. So, anyway, I think that is all that I had on my schedule to talk about today. I look forward to visiting with each and every one of you through Flosstube in the comments. So if you know, like the video, please like it and subscribe, and then hit the notifications so that you can receive when I uplink. I'm hoping to uplink every week or 2, and we'll see how this goes. So I am learning the software, you know, like the editing and everything. I've never done anything with videos before, so I am hoping that I'm a quick study on that. So I hope to see you guys next week, and I do have some giveaways coming up because I know I have some kits that I have that I personally had, I know I'm not going to do. And then my brother-in-law, they are downsizing, and he gave me some books and some kits. Some of the kits I know I'm not going to ever do. And some of the books are actually duplicates, or I know I'm not going to use. So he's given me permission to, you know, give them away. And so those I still have to sort out. I'm just kind of waiting for summer to come and get organized more. And anyway, I look forward to seeing you every week or every other week. You guys have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.